I played the victim in my life for well over a decade. I am a spiritual business coach, and I help entrepreneurial women to scale their businesses as well as manifest unlimited freedom, money, and success. And I love, love, love what I do. So this is pretty much like something that I am well equipped to talk on, because it's something that played a really, really drastic role, even though I wasn't aware, even though I wasn't aware that it was playing a role in my life. It was only after I did the inner work and the healing that I realized, holy shit, like I really played a victim. My dad and I actually this morning were just talking about this, about how I played a huge victim role in my life for a very long time. And it started as a child when I was in elementary school. I think like the third grade. Hey, Julie. I think the third grade. Yes, Cynthia. I'm so excited for our consult later today. Super excited to chat. The third grade is really when I remember things just like not being good in my life. I really used to fake sick all the time. I didn't want to go to school. I hated like just the way that I felt when I went to school. It didn't really feel like a safe environment. And that went all throughout my grade school years. For a long part of my life, like in elementary school and even kind of starting to stem into high school, I really just, this idea of not being enough and who I was not enough, stuck with me for the longest time, because it was really this idea that I couldn't control who I was. I was me, and people didn't like me for being me. And so I learned from a very young age that my external circumstances affected who I was. And so I got this guard up, and I just tried to be accepted wherever I went, whether it was with my relationships or later in my serving days when, all the bartenders and servers would go out and party until 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I talked about that on my stories yesterday. It's really crazy what can start at a very young age. And this is why I think personal development and spiritual growth is something that should be instilled in children, like from as early as possible. Because if you don't have the tools to like in your toolbox to deal with some of the shit, and I grew up long before social media, so I can only imagine what kids these days go through. And I had like MSN and AOL and all of that stuff, ICQ, but really like that was our version of social media, and I guess it was like the beginning stages of it. But people used to print out my conversations and share it with people, and just all of these like really nasty things. And like back in the day, that was a big deal, right? So you learn from an early age, if you don't have the tools within yourself to know that you are enough just the way you are. I never knew that. So for me, I very much became a victim to my circumstances, because I always thought that I couldn't control who I was. And so therefore things started happening to me, as opposed to what I learned later on, that things were always happening for me. Like every single thing that I have been through up until this point in my life, first of all, I have survived. I am here. The thing was that I quickly realized, after I started doing the inner work and the healing and all of that, the personal development and the growth, is that things are always, 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 always happening for us, no matter what we currently believe. If you are currently in victim mode, I want you to know that you have a way out of it. You are always in control of your life, which we will get to in a bit. But the things that are happening to you are actually happening for you. You have to find a new way to look at them. So my bullying, my cancer, my drug and alcohol dependency, all of these things that I struggled with in my life are all what is pushing me forward, is what is allowing me to share my story and inspire other people along the way, right? So you have to flip the script and look at things in a new light. So with that being said, I am going to see how many of you are currently in victim mode by asking you a couple questions. Raise your hand, because I have been there too. We are all here in a safe space, and love and vulnerability is what we are all about. How many of you have ever caught yourself saying, well, that's just my luck, or this only ever happens to me, or why me? Why me? And things like this always happens. Like, raise your hand. Girl with the hand emoji is my favorite. This girl right here, that's me. I'm raising my hand. Yes. See, we've all been there. It's not something that ever evades us, right? We all go through periods. It's just a matter of how long we choose to stay there. Another way, I'm just going to list out a couple things that'll get you kind of wrapping your brain around whether you are in victim mode or not. Hello, Shannon. Good morning to you. Few ways to know if you are in victim mode. So I already mentioned you find yourself asking, why me, right? Why me? You feel as though everything bad around you is happening to you, right? But like, it doesn't happen to anyone else. It only happens to you. You have this great ability to look back at things that happened in the past and only focus on the bad things. Only focus on the things that you regret. Been there. I was in such a state of self-loathing for so long. Are you comparing yourself or your achievements to others? It's a good way to know if you're in victim mode. Or when you do achieve something or have some sort of great success in life, you are not fully celebrating it. You're not recognizing it and saying, my God, look at what I did. This is why I preach in my group coaching programs. I even preach it in here, but really in my group coaching programs, yes, all the hands. I preach the importance of celebration, because celebration, as my mentor Melanie Ann Layer says, is like throwing a party in the name of gratitude. The more you celebrate, the more you open yourself up to receive more celebrations. But when you are focusing on the negative and the stuff that you wish you didn't do, or how short you fell of your benchmark or anything like that, you're inviting more of that your way. So you must recognize when you are accomplishing things and celebrating them. You also might be in victim mode if you find yourself playing the blame game. I have all the hand emojis here. Sandy, you are now a queen of celebration. I love all of your celebrations. Sandy is in one of my group coaching programs currently, and she is kicking ass at the celebrations. Hello, Jasmine. Hello, Ashley. Thank you for jumping on. Okay, so the blame game. This is one of my personal favorites. You are faulting others for reasons why you're not accomplishing things, right? It's like, oh, well, so-and-so at the office, or I was late because of all this traffic. I missed my meeting because of XYZ. My husband didn't get the kids to school on time. Hello, Harmony. You're playing the blame game, right? Things outside of your control are the reason why you're missing deadlines, you're always late, you're not achieving your goals, right? It's so easy to do. It is so easy to place blame externally. And I was doing that for a very, very long time. I still talk about, you know, my experiences of how obviously, like, I never asked to be bullied. That was an external circumstance. But what I didn't have at the time were the self-love tools, were the personal development tools to allow me to not care about what other people think. Now I don't give two shits. All honesty. I hope no one is watching this at work. I really don't care anymore because I've learned to let that go. Hello, Ellie. I have learned to let that go. I have learned that that is not something that's important in life. And when I do slip up, because I'm human, and I allow the opinions of others to affect me, it's me giving my power away. And no one wants to do that, right? You never want to be giving your power away. It's not a good feeling. But by playing the victim, you are also giving your power away. So how do we, another one, sorry, before we shift, is holding on to grudges. So if you are not able to forgive others, if you have a very hard time forgiving others, this was another huge thing that I had to work through in my process. Forgiveness will set you free. Forgiveness is such a huge tool. When you hold grudges, it's just like this negative, stale energy that is constantly sweeping through you. And of course, sometimes it's easier to forgive people than other times. But forgiveness is not about them. It's about you. And that is something that I have had to really, really work through because someone very important in my life did something once that I never thought I was ever going to be able to forgive. And it still comes up for me. It's still something that I struggle with, but I always just go back to forgiveness because there is no sense in harboring those emotions and playing the victim to something that you cannot change. It's happened. So how do you make the most of it moving forward? And then if you see yourself as a failure, it's also a good way to know that you're in victim mode or that you might be in victim mode. If you see yourself as a failure, it's just, again, you're giving away that power. You always have the ability to change things. And this is what we're actually going to go into. The way that we shift out of victim mode and into being the victors in our lives is realizing and taking radical responsibility. Not just some responsibility some of the time. I mean radical fucking responsibility for your circumstances, okay? You really need to realize that it is about the person. It is never about, like, I think that talent is bullshit. It's one thing to be talented and gifted in an area. Like, no, I am not 6'4" and a basketball player, right? But I bet you if I had enough drive and persistence and motivation that I would be able to be a pretty good basketball player. If that was something that lit me up, right? But you look at, I think it's Michael Jordan, and his shooting average was like 54% or something like that, like something really low. But he had so many other qualities that put him as one of the greatest basketball players. What about intense fear of failing? Okay, so fear is literally false evidence appearing real. And the more this is actually something that we touch on, Ashley, inside the Spiritual CEO. We go over an entire module on fear and why you need to say, fuck it. But fear is actually a really good indicator that you're moving in the right direction. The more something scares you, the more you should lean into it. And I will give you the example of the day that I thought I was going to go skydiving. My body, I planned to go skydiving a week before actually going. So I had 7 days to freak the fuck out about jumping out of an airplane and potentially risking my life, right? The idea of jumping out of an airplane is like a potential life-threatening risk, okay? But look at, by the way, the wind was too much that day, so I didn't get to jump out of the airplane, which means I worried. I'm not even kidding you, like TMI about to go down. I was living in the bathroom for those 7 days. I could not eat. I was probably pooping like 5 times a day because I worked myself up to be so scared that I was about to go and do something so stupid. It's not actually stupid, but in my mind it was stupid. Like, who the fuck throws themselves out of an airplane willingly, right? But my body reacted in this like crazy way that I couldn't control because that's how scared I was. Fast forward to when I launched my coaching business in October, the exact same bodily response happened. Exact same. I couldn't eat. I was super nervous. The day I launched my coaching business, I was in the bathroom like 4 times before I launched at 2 p.m. Right? And this is the thing, is that, hello, Jackie. This is the thing, is that those fears in our mind are both very real. We don't experience fear. Like, obviously we have mild fears and more extreme fears, but in our bodies, like biologically and chemically and like cortisol wise, we react the same way. So we have to stop fearing things that aren't actually dangerous to us, right? The fear of failing, what is the worst thing that can happen? For me, at the end of the day, when I left my 9-to-5 job, my like corporate secure 9-to-5 job, I had to ask myself, what is the worst thing that could happen? Because of course we have fears of failing. The universe stuck with it. Yes, exactly. Thank the universe you stuck with it. There we go. Where was I going? Yeah, I had to ask myself, what's the worst thing that could happen? And a lot of the time, fear of failure is a lot of ego. It's like, what are others going to think if I'm a failure? And a lot of the time, people aren't going to give a fuck. They're going to be like, wow, she tried. Good for her. Because most people don't have the balls to even start. Okay? So don't be afraid of failing, because you're going to get to the end of your life. You're going to look back and you're going to be really upset with yourself that you didn't try. That is going to be your worst regret, is that you didn't try. Won't be able to take care of myself and my family. Yeah, of course. That's huge. But what if you're able to far surpass what you are doing now? What is the worst thing that could happen is that you have to go back and get a regular job. So, AKA, you'll be in the exact same scenario that you're in right now. That doesn't sound too bad, does it? Some food for thought. Okay, going back, how to shift out. So we are talking radical responsibility, taking responsibility for our circumstances, and like quitting the blame game, okay? It is not, I'm sure you can hear that right now. We have a crazy dog in our house, so I apologize if you can hear the dog barking. But we have to stop blaming external forces. We have the power within ourselves to shift. Oh, good, you can hear the dog. We have the power. It is only up to us to shift the things that we want in our lives, right? So you have to stop putting blame on these external forces. You have to realize that you have the ability to change. It's not up to anyone else to change, and you can change any situation, Your loveless marriage, your shitty job, your relationship, an abusive family dynamic, something like anything, you have the ability to change. The question becomes, how bad do you want to change? Is this something that you're willing to just suffer through, right? Or is it something that has gotten you to the brink? Usually people don't change until it gets so bad. And I will give you the example of my relationship where nothing bad actually happened, but I could not see the future with this person that I was just in like a best friend roommate scenario with. And it got so bad because I was living like a prisoner in my head of, I don't feel it anymore, but why don't I? And like, he's the best person I've ever been with, but I don't love him anymore like that. Like, I'm not in love with him anymore. I love him forever, but I'm not in love with him. So, and I just kept going back and forth like, but he's the best person I've ever been with. The thing you need to ask yourself is, what if there's something better out there for you? What if there's something more aligned for you? What if, yes, the comfort zone isn't comfortable anymore? Sandy, nail on the head, right? So you have to, come to a point where, again, like I'm sure some of you will be saying, but I can't leave my job. No, you're just choosing not to. Of course you can leave your job. It's just all the what ifs that you're worrying about, right? Well, where's the money going to come from? What about my benefits? What about this? What if I can't put food on the table? What if you're massively successful at what you attempt to do? What if this provides you with so much happiness and freedom and fulfillment that you end up living a life way better than you ever imagined? Those are the what if questions that you should be asking yourself. Can't is the most disempowering word. It's like, here, take my power, please. Can't is so disempowering. Choosing not to, I choose not to, no matter how gross or icky or, like, well, that doesn't feel right, but it is. You're making a choice. Free will is one of the most beautiful gifts that humans have ever been blessed with, right? So don't say, I can't. I am calling you out. The next time you choose to say, oh, I can't afford it. No, I'm choosing not to spend my money here. Oh, I can't attend. I can't take the time off work. No, I'm choosing to not take the time off work. Do you see the difference? Can't is such a disempowering word. There is no try. Yes, do or do not. There is no try. That's exactly it, Bev. So if you are not intentionally creating your life, then you, like every single one of you, by the way, are born with this power to intentionally create your life. So if you're not intentionally creating your life, this is how you fall victim to it. If you are not intentionally creating your life will be created for you. And which one would you rather do? Not try at doing, do. Which one would you rather do? Would you like your life to be given to you, or do you want to go out and create it? That is how you need to look at this when you're wanting to become the victor in your life. In order to shift out of like this negative and this self-loathing mentality, you must first shift your perspective and literally realize that you and only you are responsible for your life, right? I think I might have said this in the training last week, but no one is ever going to care about your goals and what you want out of life more than you. No one's ever going to care, right? It's the same thing. Like, we must accept that it's no one else's job but your own to go after what you want. It's no one else's job but yours. So I posted yesterday that, when people tell you that your dreams are too big, or people tell you that you have to be more realistic, they're saying that from their own perception. They're saying that from their own limited mind frame. And really, like, that's their life. If they can't see the big picture, that's their own issue. Don't listen to them. I struggle a lot with having two extremes in my head, and one is totally reading victim mode all the time, feels misunderstood. The other is almost all these things that you say. Beautiful, grateful side of life. How do you, or what are some of the things you do to help? Honestly, okay, so I'm gonna go through that actually in a second. But I have created a morning routine, and I have felt that my morning routine as well as meditation have been super, super helpful in keeping it's what you focus on expands, right? So the more you commit to yourself, the more that you commit to doing the inner work, the less you're going to see the shitty stuff come up for you. So literally, like, you need to surround yourself, get rid of those negative naysayers, get rid of those people who say that you can't and that you won't and that your dreams are too big. Hello, Kara. Get rid of all of those people, right? You need to up level your circle. You need to be around positive, uplifting people and people who are headed in the direction in which you want to go, right? Like, that is one of the biggest things, is that why waste your time listening to the opinions of people who don't have the same dreams as you? Their values aren't the same. So their opinions shouldn't matter. What is my morning routine? I will, you know what, maybe next week that'll be the topic of my live. I love, love, love talking about my morning routine. So thank you for that question, Allie. Next week's live is all about my morning routine. Ultimately, in order to shift, you have to do the work, okay? No one else is going to up-level your mindset for you. You have to do the work. You have to be so insanely committed to wanting to be better. And, you know, just like no one is ever going to want your dreams as much as you do, no one can ever will you to change. No one can ever force you to change. You have to be the one who wants to make the shift. And that's super, super important to remember. You have to be the one who shows up for you. So the shift comes from continual self-improvement. It comes from committing to yourself. It comes from the mindset work. It comes from being mindful and meditating. It comes from taking risks, right? You're never going to reap a reward unless you take the risk. You have to be bold. You have to allow yourself to dream big. That is the only way you're going to get out there and start getting out of your comfort zone, like Sandy said. It comes to, like, paying attention to your thoughts and doing check-ins with yourself and say, how am I feeling today? What am I thinking about? Why am I thinking that? Right? A lot of journaling is a great way to get your thoughts out into the open and looking at them and saying, oh, I didn't even realize I was thinking that, because that happens a lot of the time too. It also comes from, like, not only just paying attention to your thoughts, but being aware of what you're consuming. What kind of Netflix shows are you watching? What kind of TV are you watching? Are you watching the news, like the 24-hour news cycle? Are you reading the newspaper? Gloom and doom is all that they promote. I stopped watching the news a long, long time ago, and I cannot tell you how great it has been, okay? It also comes from investing in yourself and learning. Being a continual learner. That is so, so important. Like, the moment that you stop learning is the moment you start dying. It comes from personal development and podcasts, reading. It comes from group coaching programs. It comes from tuning into live videos like this. It comes from seminars, or even hiring your own personal coach. I cannot tell you how imperative it has been for me working one-on-one with someone who holds me accountable to my goals. The coaching aspect is literally like having someone hold your hand and walk you through, because they are doing what you want to be doing. They are going through the fire. So find someone who is doing what you are wanting to do. Ask them for a mentorship. If it's a coaching program, ask them if you can get involved with their coaching, right? It is so important to not ever see yourself as a cost, but as an investment. There is a big, big difference in that. You are not paying a cost for a seminar or a group coaching program. The reason why people don't invest in themselves is because they have seen themselves fail so many times over that they're scared they're not going to follow through with it. That is why people don't invest in themselves. So just like closing thoughts here, I want you to just remember that any change that you are wanting to accomplish is always going to start within, okay? Nothing changes if nothing changes. Remember that. Hello, Tisha. Thank you for tuning in. I was on a call the other day with one of my one-on-one VIP clients inside the Spiritual CEO, which is my group coaching program. And her and I were talking about how she keeps kind of doing the same thing, but she's expecting different results. Pretty sure that's the definition of insanity. Ashley, I promise I will get to your comments in a bit, but yes, I would love for you to tune in and just watch the end of this. Doing the same thing over and over. Definition of insanity. Yay! I'm excited to hear from you, Ashley. Why do that to yourself? Repeat. You need to try new things in order to get different results. If something is not working for you in your life, try something new. Don't put yourself through the ringer unnecessarily, okay? And so if you are in victim mode and you need help shifting, right? Don't be too proud to ask for it. There is absolutely no shame in asking for help. Whether that be literally going and like talking to a therapist or a psychologist, someone like that, or hiring a coach or doing the programs, the seminars, those things, there is no shame in that. That is you learning and growing and evolving and improving, which I love. So that's the training. If you have jumped on live, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Really quickly, I just want to let you know that today is the final day to get 50% off of my one-on-one consultations. You need to be paid in full by today, but if you are wanting to book, don't worry, we can book it for later this week or into next week if that works for you as well. But they are 50% off. They are $111 USD, which is pretty much what I started my one-on-one coaching consults at. So I would absolutely love to hop on a call if that is something you are feeling called to. That being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so excited to bring you my live training next week. Thank you, Allison, again for the info or the idea, the inspiration is what I meant to say. And I hope that you guys all have an incredible week. I will talk to you, well, soon.